What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel, talking some running back prospects ahead of the 2022 NFL Draft. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you today by Underdog Fantasy, known for their best ball drafts, but they have so much more on the platform. From live drafts to pick'em drafts, where you can make up to 20 extra entry fees, Underdog Fantasy has it all. If you use the promo code Awesemo, you are going to get a match deposit bonus up to $100. So make sure to check out Underdog Fantasy today. And as we continue the running back position, we are going to dissect Georgia's Zamir White today. A very interesting prospect overall. A winding road to get here. Zamir White absolutely dazzled at the NFL Combine. This guy is good size. He's 6 feet, 214 pounds. And then he blazed the 40-yard dash. 4.40, right up there with Breece Hall, right up there with Kenneth Walker. And he's coming out of Georgia. This guy also logged a 34-inch vertical jump. He's a little bit older than the other prospects we mentioned. He is 22 and a half years old. There is reason for that, and it is injury-related, which we will get into. But there's a lot to like about Zamir White, and it starts with his size speed profile. This guy was the number one running back recruit in 2018, a 5-star prospect coming out of North Carolina. However, injuries. This guy already has 2 ACL tears, and he's a year older than a lot of these prospects because he did have his second ACL tear early with his career at Georgia, and that caused him to take a redshirt when he was a true freshman. So then he comes back. He has his redshirt freshman year, only 78 carries there. But it's really the last 2 seasons where we see Zamir White break out. His best season did come in 2021 as a redshirt junior, 160 carries, 856 rushing yards, 11 scores, caught all 9 of his targets for 75 receiving yards as well. This guy did log just a 2.5% target share and only participated on 21.5% of the routes. So he was certainly their early down back. Now, there's a couple reasons Zamir White's production is not up there with the Breece Halls, with the Kenneth Walkers. First of all, he plays for Georgia, and Georgia recruits running backs better than almost any other school in the country. He played alongside James Cook, and he played alongside some other 4- and 5-star running backs that we will likely be talking about in future years. And that is the case with Georgia going back to Nick Chubb, to Sony Michel. These running backs are usually deployed in committees because they have so many talented NFL backs. Now, James Cook is also a receiver, so it makes sense that Zamir White was not the preferred back on third downs in pass-catching situations, but he did have the size speed profile to be used on early downs, and we saw that throughout his career. This Georgia team was 16th in pass blocking and 20th in run blocking, so a good scheme. Todd Monken is the OC, their head coach Kirby Smart, putting Zamir White in favorable positions. And not only was Zamir White a victim of other running backs in the scheme, but he was also a victim of game script. Georgia was absolutely demolishing all of their opponents in the SEC East, and it wasn't particularly close. So sometimes Zamir White was simply pulled from games because Georgia was winning by so many points. This is a team that didn't have any single-digit margin of victories outside of the Clemson game in their first contest until the SEC championship. So you can see how quickly Georgia was able to dismantle their opponents. When we look at Zamir White, his box scores are highlighted by a 105-yard performance against Florida, but he also logged 84 yards against Alabama in the national championship game, 55 yards against Tennessee, 79 yards against Auburn, and 68 yards against Arkansas, 74 yards against Clemson as well. So some of the better competition he faced, he was absolutely performing. And this is a guy that didn't carry the ball 20 times in any individual game this year. Now, looking at him beyond the box score production, he did participate in special teams a little bit, 6 career kick returns for Zamir White. He was above average in terms of forced missed tackles and yards after contact per attempt. He was 27th in forced missed tackles per attempt, 18th in yards after contact per attempt. And those were stark improvements from what we saw in 2020. Again, the further he got away from those two ACL tears, the better he got and the more he performed up to his size speed profile. Moving forward, he is a bit of a tricky evaluation. We'll bring you back to the size and the speed here. There aren't too many comps for Zamir White at this size, this speed, with such a poor pass catching profile. The best comparison for him is actually Lamar Miller, who came out of Miami in the early 2010s. But some other names that pop up here are Roy Halou, Charles Sims, Joshua Kelly, Miles Sanders, and Trey Sermon. So there are some hits and there are some misses with this profile. However, I want to highlight that Zamir White's limited production is not the result of talent like we may have seen with some of these other backs, Joshua Kelly at UCLA, Trey Sermon, who transferred to Ohio State. It is the function of playing in a Georgia offense that has multiple elite runners and an elite pass catcher in James Cook, who not only played out of the backfield, but also out wide. We'll talk about him in a different video. So to me, there is a little more untapped upside with Zamir White compared to some of the names on this prospect profile comparison list. If I were to pick one player similar to Zamir White, it would be Lamar Miller. And that could be some potential draft capital we see for Zamir White. He's not a top 3 back by all accords. And that could mean he's drafted anywhere from day 2 to early day 3. And there's a lot of teams that could use a running back that look like Zamir White. A couple in particular that could use a larger complement. Buffalo, a team widely mocked to a Breece Hall. If Buffalo decides to go a different route and waits for a pick later on in the draft, Zamir White could make sense as a complement to Devin Singletary. The Jets could use a larger complement to a Michael Carter. Even a team like Atlanta could use a complement to a Cordarrelle Patterson, or however they decide to use their backfield. There's a lot of options for a guy in Zamir White who you can certainly use on the first 2 downs. And he has the side speeds profile to play potentially on all 3 if you can work in some pass game. Let me know where you think Zamir White goes and to what team. My name is Matt Gajewski on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.